So my elevation up past loan sharking into where I was actually started to be able to make real money was introducing marijuana into the prison system. What's good, fam? It's your boy Kiko Cortez, Kiko's P.A.I.N, the definitive channel of the Florida Chain Gang, where we turn bad into good and pain into progress. Yeah, that's what time it is. Not reminiscing, we sitting here learning from our mistakes. Today, we're going to examine the parallel between your first year, year and a half in, and your first year and a half out. When I first got to prison, it took me a good year, year and a half before I really learned how to hustle, learn the hustles of the land, the way they work, the way to, profit from them, the way not to get hustled yourself in the midst of trying to hustle. And it was a rough little patch until then. It was a year and some change of, stomach hurting, mostly working in the child hall just so I could eat. But my driving motivation was getting big on the weight pile, putting on some size, getting strong. With a lot of guys, young guys come to prison and focus on tattoos, getting swole, it's the cliche. I was no different. I went hard, I became obsessed with it. Bam, weight pile, I lived for it. And it's one of the main things that helped change my life, got me from hanging around with certain types and really focusing on progressing. It taught me all the lessons that I learned in life, the showing up every day, the grind, the discipline, the consistency that it takes to have success in that physical realm. Those same principles apply in every realm, and the rules of success for everything. And so really, not the point of this video, but my dedication to that weight pile and my goals, one of my earliest real goals that I strove for was, putting on some muscle, putting on some size in the weight pile. But I wasn't getting any money from the streets. It was real hard on the yard. My dukes was struggling. Brother was in prison with me. Sister was still young. So I struggled. But I was so intent on having gains in the weight pile that I was ready to, hustle by any means. And after a year or so of observing these things, eating in the child hall, doing whatever I had to do, I started seeing a couple entries into these low-level hustles. And I've done videos on these lower level and mid-level hustles before, so, we can go jump back and check them out in detail if we're curious. But I studied them. I was, accumulated a little bit that it took to, enter into those hustles, whether it was, breaking a pack of cigarettes down, selling it, breaking the coffee down, selling it. Again, I've covered it in the other videos. I started with that, and I was relentless with it. Slowly but surely, I started to elevate. All these little hustles, for one, they get me around hustlers, other hustlers, more experienced hustlers. And now you're moving, you're networking, doors opening, and you're getting game for free all along. So my elevation up past loan sharking into where I was actually started to be able to make real money was introducing marijuana into the prison system. That's smuggling it through fund visitation was my way of getting it in. And selling that, some real money started happening then. And, so it went from the marijuana, cell phones, K2/Spice, which we call Tunchi or Twack down here in Florida, came in, changed the game. But all, some pills, whatever. Introducing contraband became the new route for money. And once I got in this lane, that's when I began to be able to send money home, help my dudes, or my girlfriend, whoever, with the car note, the rent, and build up a little bit of money. And on the inside, greatly increasing my status and eating and living really as comfortably as you can in prison. So over the course of my time in Florida Department of Corrections, which was the bulk of my 24 years in prison, 19 and a half of it was in the Florida DOC. And so the course of that time, I spent years struggling. I learned how to make money and have things within a year, year and a half, but that was still mostly land money. Anytime I would take a fall, go to CM, get transferred, whatever, I'm losing almost all that, and I'm starting from square one when I get to my new facility. Boom, grind it back up, grind it back up. And that was very difficult, but it taught me resilience. It taught me the discipline, the consistency, these same principles that I got from the weight pile. Boom, there wasn't even no weight pile no more. They took that out of the prison system, but by then, it had already had its effect on me, and I was applying this diligence everywhere. And it was real tough. That was the time period when discipline had to be the strongest, because Any little slip and you're done. You know, you don't have room for error. After all those early struggles, I spent the rest of my time in a more comfortable economic bracket and you know, power bracket, safety bracket, whatever you want to say, a comfortable bracket, mostly living comfortable the rest of that time. Struggles throughout, conflicts throughout, but you know, that's just part of the life. Financially, socially, I was able to rise up. But to sum it up, it was a year and a half where I was just clueless. I was trying to, man, I was broke. I ain't have nothing. I was eating in the child hall. I was working in the child hall, just shoveling down as much as I could while I was at work. And then I started to figure it out. I started getting hustling and I started finding out ways to make sure there was stuff in my locker, a little bit of money. It wasn't enough that I could be careless with it. I couldn't even eat any of my own stuff for a while because I needed it to hustle with. I just had to keep it there, stomach growling, with locker full of stuff, but I needed that to hustle on. So I was at that level. It wasn't no slack, but now I had a means. I was making, money was coming in. I knew I was going to be able to have my deodorant and my batteries for my radio and et cetera, because I was making sure that I would have it. So it began that way. And the next 5 years or so, you could call it blue collar, still grinding, struggling. The hustle's getting better, getting up in the mid-level and learning the whole way until ultimately, with about 10, 11 years left in my sentence, I got to the point where I was never really broke again. I was able, my fortunes rose and fell, but I was never again at that scraping from the bottom level. And you could say that I was basically at the level that you could really hope to rise to in prison, living comfortably and having everything that you need. I would equate that out to the streets as, you know, someone who's considered wealthy, upper middle class, you know, doing good for themselves. The equivalent prison version of that, that's why I was able to get and to finish my time. So I took that year and a half it took to get that started. Well, now decades later, as I'm getting ready to go home, I'm getting close. I'm within 5 years. I have all these plans, these dreams, these goals. I'm like, okay. And I'm researching them. I'm trying to figure out everything I can for a person who hasn't been out on the streets since the 90s and was a teenager ripping and running in the streets that didn't know nothing anyways back then. So you can imagine I have these goals, these plans. I've been following the streets, reading, watching TV, researching everything as much as I can, but I still know there's things that I don't know. And I also know that there's things I don't know that I don't know. You know, there's a whole bunch out there. So I know it's going to be a learning curve. And that's a little, you know, that can be, you know, nerve wracking. You know, you're just sitting there and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But you're keeping it real with yourself and you're like, but you know it's not going to be that easy. It's going to be something. It always was. It was in here and it will be out there. You just don't know what it is. You just got to hope you're prepared for it and do everything you can to be prepared for it. So I was dealing with that, and that's when I said, you know what? Look what you did in here. You came into a world where you knew even less about what the situation was going to be than the one that you're going to be going to when you get released. And look what you did. Yeah, you struggled for a year and a half. You floundered. You was like clueless, but you got it together. And you grinded, discipline, all out, work ethic. Boom, you start building something up. You start getting smarter, you know, and then look where you rose. And one thing I believe is water always finds its level. So I believe that no matter what environment I get put into, once I can orient myself and figure out the game, I'm going to go to what's considered my level. And that level might not be a Jay-Z, Donald Trump level. Who knows? We still got a whole lot to write. But we was something like the equivalent of that in prison, getting up there. Maybe not to that level, but successful in the terms of the world that I inhabited. And I always say that prison is a microcosm of the real world. So things that happen there, they happen on a bigger scale out here, but it's still the same laws that govern it, human nature, etc. So when I would think back to everything I was able to accomplish in prison, it gave me a little bit of confidence. Like, you know what? It was, you know who you are now. You know that you're a hustler. You know that you're going to work. You know that you're not going to accept less. And that's the beginning of it all, the mentality. If you tell yourself, you believe this certain image of yourself, you're either going to back that up, you're going to live the talk, or you're just going to slowly break down and hate yourself and just be filled with all types of negative emotions because you realize, man, this is what I consider righteous. This is what I consider I am. But after a while, the evidence just mounts up that just you're not that, and that's a bad place to be. I guess I don't know. I never been there. I think of myself in a certain way, and then I act in accordance with that belief. And I know even if I'm sliding in the moment, I know as long as I continue to believe that that's the person that I am, my actions are going to support it. At least that's what I've always showed myself. So when I would get confronted with those, not necessarily fears, but, anxieties of a sort as to what world I would face out here, I would remember what I've come through. And I told myself, it took you a year and a half. So give yourself a little bit of grace because it's going to take a little bit of time. It's all these things that you don't know, you don't know, and that you don't even know that you don't know. So, there's going to be some struggles. But we done made it through so many struggles. How can we fear now that we're not going to respond in the same manner just because we're out here in the free world? Yeah, that's part of the things you don't know, the little learning curves of things. I've been out 16 going on 17 months now, and I've encountered a lot of them. But the reason I'm making this video today is for one, because I want to let all my subscribers know, my followers. First of all, I don't talk directly to y'all too much. I'm sitting here just, putting out the content, trying to, deliver the message, whatever it is. But for one, got much love for y'all. It's early in the game, but we're going to blow this up. Y'all on the first floor, and this elevator is just going up. So, for one, much love. Two, the reason there ain't been a video out in a little while is my personal training business is undergoing a heavy evolution and is really beginning to get some momentum and take off. So I'm all in working. I'm up at 3:30 a.m. every morning, 4:30 at the latest, grinding throughout the day. So don't think a video doesn't pop up, Kiko done fell off. Man, Kiko is grinding. I'm out here doing everything. I got 14 days left from today. I'm recording this on the 16th of December. I got 14 days left and I'm done with probation and all ties to the courts forever. I'm a free man for the first time since I was 12 years old. At 12 years old, I was arrested in school for possession of marijuana and given 6 months of probation. Before I could complete that 6 months, I was arrested for breaking into a house at 13 and taken to the detention center and given more time, more probation, more cases, waived to an adult at 17, sent to prison, 24 years in prison. There hasn't been any escape from the legal system since 12 years old, and I'm 14 days away from that. So just letting y'all know the progress meter is going up. So right now, super heavy involved setting up some programs, structure, systems for my personal training company. It's lit, it's going down. And that's exactly why we were reflecting on my first year and a half in prison. Because I'm coming up on the end of my first year and a half out here in the world. And I'm reporting back that my predictions were pretty much on beat. That same year and a half, I was out here. I've been out here the first year. A lot of things have been accomplished. Number one, that I done stayed free. Because that's been my problem my whole life, that I couldn't stay free. So without that, none of the rest matters. And thankfully, here I am, free. 17 months later, on the verge of being totally free. And that's the first success. But if you ask me, I'll tell you that I feel like I squandered most of that first year. A lot of good stuff. I mean, I got married. I done seen the world. Got the foundations laid for all of my goals. But, we're never satisfied. And, some frustrations can set in when you feel like things aren't happening for you fast enough. But that's when I remind myself, you knew it was going to take a year and a half for this to get popping. And I say, okay, it did. It took that. But, when you're in the midst of it, it's not as enjoyable. But you just got to draw from them past victories, them past experiences. And that's what I've done. And I'm glad to say that at 16 months going on 17, nearly at that year and a half point, it's happening a lot like it did inside. It's momentum starting to happen. First of all, I just done learned the world. I feel like I know the world good. I'm caught up. And that was the first step. It's just a whole lot of catching up to do. And I feel like, okay, I'm mostly caught up. And now I'm locked in. I know what the hustle is. Just like when I seen there, I figured out how to get money, selling cigarettes, selling coffee, loan sharking, gambling, and then on to drugs, introducing contraband into the prison. I learned each and every one of them and jumped into them and learned more from messing it up and and growing from those mistakes. And it's been the same way out here, and that parallel comforts me because again, it just shows that life is life wherever we're at. In prison, it's just a microcosm of this big world out here. So I'm just here to report that been a minute since I did a video, but Kiko's P.A.I.N is here to stay. We're gonna blow this thing up. I'm saying 100,000 subscribers. I'm gonna get there one way or another. We're gonna get there, and that's just one of the many goals. We're pushing forward personal training, public speaking is taking off here in 2024. All this stuff coming together, the story, the pain, the struggle, the hustle. It's all coming together, and the goal for anybody who ever doubts what the goal is when they come across my content, and it might be me talking about one of the periods of my life where I was, living under a different set of laws. A lot of people, all they see is the shorts. The shorts is what's really doing the most numbers right now. And so with shorts, it's a whole different format. We don't have time to sit here and explain a lot of stuff. We know what it is. It's that knee-jerk, entertain people, get them to stop scrolling. That's what time it is. But that's not the whole story. Any of us that's really rocking with the Kiko's P.A.I.N knows that this is prison content with a purpose. We're taking bad, turning it to good, and we're taking pain and turning it into progress. It's just not a slogan. That's how I'm living my life, and that's what I'm trying to take to everybody who finds themselves lost in the midst of some struggle, whether it's a struggle like mine, criminal struggle out there in the streets, or just people that, whatever your unique struggle is, because just like there's a parallel between prison and the free world, there's a parallel between all struggles and the emotions that we have to cope with to get through these struggles. So when you see me talking about something violent, doing something to somebody, yes, I was that person, and that was the world I lived in and the laws that I lived by. I'm not that person anymore, and that's not the goal. Never ever think that I'm gonna be on here trying to impress somebody about something I did in prison, because it don't impress me, and don't think that I'm being nostalgic or enjoying this story I'm telling. I got tired of telling these stories 10, 15 years ago. Every new bunkie in confinement, on CM, on the compound, you run through your stories, you get to know each other in 48 hours, and I got tired of telling these stories a long time ago. So, it's not about the story. It's not about me reliving the height of my life. That's nothing. That was the low point of my life, and it's on and popping from here on out. So, the people that's really rocking with me, they know my heart. They know the struggle. They know what my goal is. My goal is to get out here, reach these people that was like me, mostly these kids who was out there. We've been shown one mentality, one way to go. I'm just here to spread the word of another way, to still be swagged out, still be fly, still be a real dude, but to make real money, legit choices, do real things. This right here, we're going to push it. We're going to go to 100K. We're going to build it. It's going to happen. Kiko's P.A.I.N or another channel, because it's going to be a fitness channel. There's going to be a lot. This right here, medium, we pushing up 100K. We're going to get that plaque from YouTube. That's what's happening, because we're going to, not because I want to glorify myself or tell this, come off as some prison hero. Damn prison. So I'm trying to get people out of prison and teach people how to not go to prison. That's the message. I tell the story so the eyes come. When the eyes come, we talk about real stuff. So I hope the devil that don't nobody watching this ever go to prison and have to be locked up. If you do, I just want this little seed to be planted deep down here somewhere, and at the right time, hopefully it'll come up. And when you're facing the uncertainty of the free world again, just remember, first of all, work on yourself the entire time that you're incarcerated. This is my advice to anyone that has to get locked up. Spend that time working on yourself. Build yourself. Get knowledgeable. Start exploring stuff that's different from what you've known so far. Expand your horizons. You need to work on yourself. Start stacking up some wins. Whatever it may be. Getting a GED, reading a book, reading 10 books, whatever it is. You got to start building. You just go out there dead focused on what you want and dead certain that you're going to get it. Man, nothing's going to stop you. It's going to be setbacks, but you won't ever be stopped, denied, if you refuse to be stopped or denied. You just got to get out here, keep pushing. Don't be nervous. You're going to be all right. Do what you can right now. Work on yourself while you can. That's what you have control over. So hit them books, get that GED, learn another language, read about other people, read about business. Do whatever you got to do. But start preparing yourself, because you don't need to prepare yourself from day one, because it's going to be challenges. But you won't make it through it. You done made it this far. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, Kiko's P.A.I.N. Real Florida Chain Gang talk. Not trying to posture and trying to be cool. I don't need y'all to validate me. We just sitting here trying to spread these experiences. 24 years of pain. Y'all stay up, man. Much love.